What is the price of your education? What you are ready to pay? This is the question today. And so many of you are coming to ask me for money. So today, I like to share with you the price of my education, what I paid. So in an unconscious way, basically, my education, all my wanting to studying and knowing more, basically, is to compensate for the low self-worth and the low self-importance what I felt as a child. And basically it will put it all together for you when you know that my parents divorced early on, and basically all what I wanted is to be loved. And I thought that if I know more, and the more I know, the more love I will receive, and the more admiration I will receive, and the more acknowledgement I will receive. So basically all these little things could have been in my life if my father figure is there in my life, but it wasn't. So I thought with knowing more, I can compensate for all these. My higher education started in Hungary. I was growing up there, and I was lucky enough to study really hard in high school, and as number 4 getting into the university. And because of that, I got a scholarship, so I didn't have to pay for my studies. I'm going to talk about my higher education only because basically in Hungary you are supposed to be studying, and it's free until 16 years of your life, and you can study without any money. The government is paying for that, and they are pretty good schools. And I was lucky enough to, study for my compensation for being loved. And talking about higher education, I wanted to become my physical education teachers So I entered into the same university, the Hungarian University of Physical Education, and I was lucky enough to be number 4 getting into this school, which is a very prestigious school. It's only 100 students per year can get in. And since then I received the scholarship, so I was able to study for free. So I did my bachelor's and master's in teaching physical education. This school is 4 years program. But after 2 years, I stopped my studies because I had a big dream. I wanted to go and emigrate into America. And step 1 was learning the language. So going to America as my dream began that I started to study English. In my whole school before, I had to study German. I was always assigned to a class which studied German. You couldn't have a choice. So I studied English. A 2-year book normally you would study in high school in 4 months, all on my own, besides my first year of my university. And I started to work with the coaching education, the international coaching education department, and I worked with foreigners. So I was able to speak with the guests of the university, and I was able to practice the language. But I needed more. I needed to get a TOEFL exam because I wanted to get ready to study in America. So I decided, let's take a year off and go to America. And I was lucky enough, again, through my mom's friend, I got to be able to help a family, and I was a nanny for a year. So I took a year off and I worked with kids, little kids, 3 and the 5-year-old girls. And I was doing everything in the family, and that includes cleaning, doing the laundry, ironing, cooking, taking the kids to school because both of the parents were basically working. And besides that, I was watching Sesame Street with the kids and all the TV programs to learn English and study on my own every single minute what I could to pass the TOEFL exam with a high enough score. So when I finish my university, I can get into an American university. I didn't know how at that time, but all what I knew that I needed to earn some money, I needed to finance myself. And during the last 2 years of my Hungarian university program, I was coming and going to America, working a little bit. That meant teaching a little aerobics, teaching a little personal training, and then cleaning houses also. So I did all what I could to earn money and finance myself. So on the working part, when I was in Hungary, I also find myself an expert in aerobics, which I learned in America in the same time. And I started to teach aerobics, wrote a book on that, started instructor training programs in Hungary. and basically it earned me a little bit of money that I could go back and on the summers and work in America. On the professional aspects, and I also continued in the last 2 years a new competition, which is competition aerobics, and I was able to achieve a European championship in 1992. So as my hunger for learning more never stopped, and I was again working hard, I was lucky enough to have the chance, the opportunity through a mentor to apply to American University to study exercise physiology for another master's, and I was lucky enough to receive a graduate assistantship. Right after the day of my graduation from the Hungarian University of Physical Education in 1993, the next day I was on the airplane to America, to Montclair State University, and I entered into the graduate program of exercise physiology. And I had a mentor in my life who helped me financially. I was able to stay with them in a nice place, opposed to having a nanny job. However, I needed to take up again aerobics, and I was working in a fitness center. I was working for my tuition at the university, and I needed to finance myself for food and petrol to get to the university. And believe it or not, I had a wonderful car with a big dent on the side, and I was very proud of that. I was able to buy that car for $800. And when I pulled up in the university and parked my car, and the windows didn't work much, people used to throw pennies into my car, thinking that I need some money to repair my car. So as hardship come, I worked it through and needed to learn more English, because this was now technical English what I needed to study. And at that point, my reading speed was basically 1 hour per 1 page. So you can see that how much effort I put in there. I basically studied day and night in between work and studies, and my graduate program was at night. So I had to go to school at night from 6 o'clock until 10 p.m. at night. As my dream was always emigrating and living in America, who doesn't have the American dream? So after studying there, I was working hard enough to able to get a job in my own field as an exercise physiologist, and I started to work in my field, and beside work, I started to study even more. I was very, very happy that I can work with athletes, work with people. So my skills were very high up because of my Hungarian physical education background, plus the exercise physiology made me such an expert in the country that I was able to emigrate via work. And I worked very eagerly. And basically the friend who helped me during my second master's, I needed to help him back. So I was working at that time 7 days a week for 18 months, so be able to finance myself and my friend and able to pay him back all the help what he gave me during that time. And since I was an exercise physiologist working full-time, plus I was still teaching aerobics in a fitness center because I loved that. I wasn't really going out. Social life was very, very low in my life at that time. I only really worked, and I used to go teach aerobics because at least I was dancing during that time once or twice a week. So that was basically the fun part I have to give up for all this. So during this emigration process, which also costed quite a bit of money, as you know, and it took 7 years, I was pretty much getting bored and I wanted to know more, and just working wasn't satisfying anymore. So I said, what else is needed for performance is basically nutrition. I couldn't get into a PhD program because I didn't have enough master's credits. So I said, okay, why not? We will do a master's program in clinical nutrition. And that meant that with full-time work, I entered back into university, which I was going on the weekends, full weekend days. And for this school, I needed to take a loan, and because I was working, I was able to paying it back small by small all through this time. And beside this, once I finished that 18 months master's program in clinical nutrition, I found the functional medicine for the very reason because my health was completely gone. And that was either I enter into the medical under medical doctor's help, but I said no. I wanted to help myself, so I studied functional medicine, and I used to go out to California to study this, so I self-funded all those trips. So that was the price to basically pay. So I realized after my third master's that I need to get my PhD. I started my business, and people just didn't want to listen to me. And they said, you gotta get your PhD so you become a doctor, so people will listen to you. So since I was running out of the money paying for all these in America, I said, let's try and do it in Hungary, back in my old university. And I applied for the Semmelweis University, and so I did my PhD. But the studying didn't stop there, so was the work didn't stop there, because side by side, both of them went together. But then again, I found a wonderful mentor who helped me through this journey. And instead of losing something, not being in America, I actually find a great opportunity to reconnect with my family. And also I was able to start business. I studied food business. I published my book in nutrition. And I started consultancy for companies, especially for making nutrition ads. And my PhD was all self-paid. Again, as either hard work or you would say good luck brought it that my expertise was needed very much in Malaysia. And one of my classmates at the PhD school in Hungary asked me, why don't I come to become a consultant in Malaysia? And so I actually accepted that, and I was working with the National Sports Institute there. And I became a consultant for the National Sports Institute with a wonderful salary. And also my food business was going really well until I found out that I have some credit card clearing up to do, which was remained on me from America. And that was all the price to pay, because that was a large amount of money, enough. And thankfully I was able to cover that with my giving up my more than a year of my salary and salary from my food business. But I was again lucky enough to work through this, and lucky enough that I didn't want to stop at this moment. I continued to work, and I knew that for performance at this moment, I knew that the mind is the crucial and the most important part, and I need to study more. So I again self-funded myself to learn neuro-linguistic programming, so I became a coach. And I realized that this is so important for performance, because everything begins in your head. Once in your head decided, you will work through, you will get it, and the rest of them are tools. One part was missing out of the performance aspect, which is yoga, which I was studying and doing on my own for 10 years at that time, because when I was not well, the doctor said I have to stop all exercise, only yoga and walking could remain. So I did that, and I said I need to become a teacher. So in entering into Malaysia gave me the opportunity to have a wonderful mentor from India who I was able to study, and became a coach for yoga as well. Going on that path further down on the mind, repairing all the past, I found that I needed to learn to meditate more, and a specific meditation, Vipassana meditation, helped me to clean up all my inside, and a whole new world opened up for me. And then again, these were all self-funded educations and beautiful, beautiful journeys which allowed me to build up all this knowledge.